In this lesson, we will trace the development of the French and British colonial rivalry and summarize the French and Indian War. Britain and France. Both countries had been in frequent wars with each other for 2 centuries. The war between the two in Europe will spread to North America. France settled in North America 75 years before Britain, established Quebec, and claimed the Mississippi River Valley, which was named after Louis XIV. The British wanted to expand their holdings across the Appalachian Mountains, which can be seen here in this map. Rivals for an empire. The French had friendly relations with Native Americans. They traded with them, and they learned their languages. They lived with them in the woods and traded furs. They did not build towns or try to convert the Native Americans, and they intermarried with them. The French also had military alliances with Native Americans that they traded furs with, so they had a better relationship with the Native Americans than the British. The First Battle of the French and Indian War. The French built Fort Duquesne near present-day Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The British had already claimed this land and given it to some wealthy planters. Virginia's governor sends the militia out to evict the French and to tell them to leave their land. A young George Washington leads this group, and Washington attacks the French and then builds Fort Necessity to protect his group, but was outnumbered and forced to surrender, and he was sent home back to Virginia to tell the governor that the French were not leaving that land. You can see the fort that they built, that George Washington built and called Fort Necessity here. It's nothing more than a small fort surrounded by a small picket fence. French strategy versus British strategy. The French fought with Native American allies and learned their fighting skills from them. They were also trained to fight in the woods and to use guerrilla warfare and to surprise their enemy. The British, under General Braddock, launched an assault on Fort Duquesne. They fought in traditional European format, which means they're fighting out in the open, marching in lines. The British are going to lose battles for 2 years of the war because their strategy was not effective against the French and their Native American allies. King George II adds a man named William Pitt to assist in changing British strategy and in training the British troops. He asks Ben Franklin to form an alliance with the Iroquois Indians. So now both sides have Native American allies. The British launch a surprise attack on the French at Quebec. They climb the cliffs of Quebec, which can be seen here in this picture, and surprise the French in the middle of the night. The British victory at Quebec turns the tide of the war, and eventually the British win the French and Indian War. The Treaty of Paris. The war ends in 1763 with the signing of the Treaty of Paris. The British gained all of the land that France had claimed, which was east of the Mississippi River. Spain, a French ally, lost Florida, but gained French land west of the Mississippi River and the port of New Orleans. France kept control of eastern Canada and their Caribbean islands. The Native Americans were the true losers because the colonists began to settle west of the Appalachian Mountains on their land, and that land was supposed to be saved just for the Native Americans. So a French loss equals a Native American loss. In our next lesson, we'll talk about the new problems caused by the outcome of the French and Indian War and the war's effects on the relationship between Britain and its colonies. You can clearly see in the map shown here and here that the French land, which is shown in yellow, is clearly present on the map that is dated 1713, but following the French and Indian War is clearly absent. And you can see that England has taken the majority of the French land in North America. But the British will be more difficult to deal with for the Native Americans than the French were.